Hello, how's everyone doing this evening, morning, afternoon? Caught the mute this time. Really wish there was a way I could figure out how to turn that off. As you can probably tell, if you were on a couple minutes ago, I was playing around with my lighting. I bought some new lights to try and make me a little bit brighter on stage and not be so different, because it seems to change every time I go between like bright backgrounds and dark backgrounds. So I've tried to balance the light a little bit. So tweaking it out, I might stop in between and kind of fix things up. Well, hopefully everyone's having a great day. Good. I'm glad you're doing good, Chad. Probably coming down. It's been a couple weeks now from the post-Code Palooza high or stress, depending on how you look at it. So today we're going to be messing around with this project that is one of the few I have that are private right now, only because I've been really playing around with it, trying to get it to work in a way that I'm comfortable with sharing. It's almost there, mostly because there's been a lot of user secrets going back and forth while I've been messing around with it. So kind of got all that situated. But in a nutshell, this application, the idea behind it is if you've ever used something like a Hootsuite or any of those social tools, they allow you to kind of schedule social posts or respond to a blog post, things like that, or something like if this, then that. Well, I was trying to do that for more of a presenter, conference organizer, blogger standpoint. So the idea behind it is they'll have these things that I call collectors. Collectors will go out and get data. And the data points right now are RSS feeds. So it'll look at, in this case, my blog and check to see if there's a new blog post. If there is, it'll forward it off to the posters, which I actually didn't even come up with the name for it up until now. These posters allow it to go and send off to one or more social media platforms, or allows it to do one or more things. Right now, it can send it to Twitter and Facebook. I was starting to play around with LinkedIn, but there's a lot of stuff that has happened for LinkedIn, and I'm getting it to work right now. So last night I was playing around with being able to pull in another collector for YouTube videos. So as I post videos of the stream, it will go out and format it and send it out. And I know you're probably thinking, Joe, but there's a million different things that can do that. Yes, there are. I mean, there's if this, then that, which is something I'm using right now. But I want to take this to the next level, and I can still use those tools. But the idea is something like, for example, I'm presenting at a conference in about a month, the C# Corner Virtual Conference. I want to be able to say, hey, I'm scheduled to present this talk at this day, and the application will be able to schedule all those social posts for me, so I don't have to do it. Right now, I have to open up Hootsuite, craft a message, schedule it for different times of the day, and then let it go. And then when I'm done, I have to upload the video if there's a video for it, update the source code. I'm trying to automate all that. And at the same time, trying to learn some functions and other things along the way. So I am looking at probably the third iteration on it. And the last one I used, I actually broke it. So the production instance is not working right now. You'd notice I have a lot of windows open. That's because I've been playing around with the YouTube API, and I think I actually got it working. But in the meantime, while I was copying and pasting stuff, I ended up breaking a couple of other things. So let's go through and kind of look to see how we can fix those. So our project has a couple different things. And if you've watched any of my stream, it's very similar to the others. I have this README file, which you see, which was the README on the site, but I also created this infrastructure. And ultimately, what I think I want to do with this site is make it open to others to be able to use. I might make the source open so you can copy and paste it or fork it and then create your own deployment. But my idea is I have a general site, something like Sessionize or Hootsuite or any of those that you can sign up, configure your different points of interest. Like for me, it's blog and YouTube videos. My social media pages, Twitter, Facebook, I'll probably add in LinkedIn and all those. And then it will register everything for you and take care of it. So this has been my running list of like infrastructure that we need to configure. That being said, we have an app server which hosts our Azure Functions. We then have 8 functions as of right now. 2 of them haven't been deployed yet, and that's these YouTube ones because I just started working on them last night. So these are different collectors. The first one will go and check my blog posts, which essentially checks the HTML or the RSS feeds. If there's a new one since the last time it checks, it takes it and sends it off to what's called source data, which is a repository for all the different things that can be broadcast here. The feed load JSON feed items, this kind of loads everything all at once. So this will go through the entire RSS feed and create an instance of all the source data. So this will be used for that. Hey, we're getting started. Let's pre-populate. And the same thing for YouTube. Goes and gets all the videos. This one's not built yet. But I built the shell for this, so the load all video should be relatively. And then what these do, the process new data source for Twitter and Facebook, this receives an event grid topic subscription. Once something has been entered into source data, which can be done by any one of these 4 things, it will then go and craft a message for the appropriate social media thing. So this one will craft a tweet that will drop off a message on a queue, and this just goes and reads that queue and actually sends it off. The same thing with Facebook process new data source, reads it from new source data, composes a Facebook status update, then drops off a message in a queue, and then this goes off. You see we have 2 queues. I've tried to keep the queuing names the same, the system, and then what it's doing. So in this case, Twitter, tweets to send, Facebook, post status to page. We then have a blob storage account for the application. In this case, it's called JoeG.Net. We're using Azure storage tables for both the configuration and holding the source table. And then we have one event grid source called new source data. And this is where we go and drop off. This is where we post notifications that there is a new source. So this could be a new blog post, a new YouTube video, etc. And then we have these topics or subscriptions that are subscribed to. So we have this Twitter one, which calls the Azure function process new data source, and then Facebook one. As far as the app is concerned, it's broken up into 3 major parts. The functions, which is highlighted in blue right now. Actually, let me tweak the size of this. Settings. I could probably tweak the size of this, but I totally forgot how to all of a sudden. The functions list all the functions. We have the collectors and then Facebook and Twitter and then all the settings. We then have these star readers. So right now we have a feed reader, a JSON feed reader, and a YouTube reader. You'll also notice once we start looking at these that we haven't, and by we I mean I haven't gone through and started to refactor some. I originally started with the feed, and then if you look at JSON feed reader, it's essentially a copy and paste of the code with the exception of one parameter change, and the same thing with the YouTube reader. So eventually, maybe today, I'm going to go and refactor these out. We then have the data, which is 3 different repositories we use. The configuration allows us to go and save configuration data, which right now is only used in the functions. For when was the last time I checked for a new feed for a new YouTube video. Source data is used to save the blog posts and stuff like that. And the table repository is a generic repository that, and domain just has the interfaces, models that we're using. So let's take a look at some of the data. This is my public subscription. Let's look locally for now. So you have these queues, which should have nothing in it because it's not running locally. We have configuration, which has these 2 configuration endpoints, which actually I want to change. I want to get rid of these being the partition keys and this being the row key. I actually want to swap them today. And then when the feed was last checked, so you can tell we last checked the feed on the 13th, which was 5 days ago. And then YouTube, I just set it to 9/1 because I was just creating it. And source data has a lot more. So this has all 156 blog posts that I ran. The idea behind that is I want to save it off and take off the burden of going to my server, but go back and kind of revisit some old word I'm looking for, old posts. So you see here this one from 9/13/2020. Oh, I got the date and times wrong. But I might want to say, hey, I am going to resend out this post. So one of those, in case you missed it, kind of deals, and have that going behind the scenes. So I create the blog post. I don't do anything for it. It'll get a notification that it's out there, and then maybe 5 or 6 days later, it'll go and repost it out there for those people, taking into account time zone stuff. And then maybe get a blast from the past. Hey, here's a new play. Here's a new thing you can come. Which is why I stored them here, so we can have another timer kind of go through and find something new to send. And that's it. I don't think we're using block for this one yet. So that being said, where's my magical list of things I wanted to cover? Let's see. First thing was some refactoring, adding readers as dependency injectors, and configure the repo failing on function start. Yes. So I started to rewrite this configuration repository. Right now it's using the table repository. The table repository is a way for us to go and interact with the Azure tables, but it requires a connection string and the table name. No big deal. So we do the configuration, we inherit it and tell it we want to use the collector configuration, which is outlined here. Now the collector configuration says, give it the display name or the collector name. Collector is one of these two things. It's either the YouTube reader or the feed reader right now, because these are ones that are scheduled and have configuration for it. However, the table identity or the table entity doesn't work without a parameterless constructor. So this one is going to fail, which is totally fine, because with me wanting to go and change the names of it, I am going to do that right now and make it easier. So I have these constants and I have these tables called, or these constants for tables called configuration, and then one called source data. So essentially, we pull up the configuration table from here. Let's this down a little bit. We're going to pull this table here, and then we're going to use this function name as the partition key, and then we randomly throw configuration in there. Because the Azure tables require a partition key and row key for its indexing. So I think I'm actually going to turn the partition key into the row key and just make the partition key the configuration. So let's go and do that. So here we have the table name, so that's fine. Why did that break then? It should be good. Configuration. Table repository. Why is it broken then? Why was it broken? Thought I saw the reason for it a minute ago, but now I'm gone. Oh, for this. The collector configuration. This needs a parameterless constructor, I believe was the error message here. Yeah. Microsoft Azure Cosmos table query generic type must provide a default parameter constructor. Oh, now where did I want to do that? I wanted to change that. Collector base. Oh, I need to check to see if my audio volume was good. Yeah, it is. Okay, good. So this should be passed in. This is the one that broke. I technically don't want the collector name. This should be base, because this is a configuration base. So let's check out configuration base. It wants the function name, which is really not function name. This can actually be, this can be parameterless now, because we are going to change the row key to be that constant. The collector configuration, this should be string collector name. Collector name might be specified, and then we are going to set the row key equal to collector name. That should handle what we get rid of the error. So let's double check that that works now. So we want to check this collector for feeds and do load new post. This is going to fail because the names are different. And I have to check the order in which this is loaded now. Because here I have it as partition key, comma, row key, and that's wrong. We want this now. Let's make sure that's formatted right. And then this should still be good because the collector configuration. So what we're doing here is saying, get me the data from an existing one and return that as configuration. If not, create a new one. So, and then after that, I just save it all. I should be injecting these and then I don't have to worry about this, but I was just playing around with it and getting it. Just fix the YouTube one since it's a copy paste. You go and change here. Yeah, I copied and pasted too far. Now that should work. I'm going to put a breakpoint here because we're going to want to these. Let's go and run. This one I have is run a startup because it's scheduled for every 15 minutes and that's too long when you're debugging. Oh, I'm going to do the same. Where it gets triggered. And then we have to make sure we go back and turn that off before we publish it. Now we should be good to go. And because this is no longer valid, where'd you go? We're going to want to delete both of these records. This will allow us to just recreate it in the right way. Because once we save, we'll create it. And if it doesn't exist there at start, going to just create it at today's date and time. So let's go and debug these functions, see how it goes. Now, yesterday, I've been wondering why I put a new blog post this morning. I was wondering why it didn't work, and I totally forgot that in the last build, I broke the build because I deleted this timer info, my timer, because it's not being used. But Azure Functions is like, I don't know what to do now. You broke me because I didn't have that function there. Build is done. I did a whole bunch of changes and I probably should have rebuilt it first. But let's see. Let's see how it goes. Everything's green. Got 7, no reds. And now we're here. So if we look, once we step over this, so 10, it should create a new configuration item with the last updated time to be right now. 9/19 is the date, and this time is in UTC, so 9. So it's going to go through and look for 9:54 and shouldn't find any new blog posts since right now. I had a lot of breakpoints because of a lot of testing. The new items count is 0, which is what I expect. Now this is done. So it should have wrote some log entries. It did somewhere. But more importantly, we should be able to see a new record in here now for the last time check. So it checked both of these feeds at 21:54, so a minute or so ago. I guess I didn't put breakpoints. I did. Yeah, that was, I stepped through the YouTube one. Why didn't it break? Where are we on now? Okay, so now we're in the checking the feed, and that's going to go through. So hit play on this, and after we get to the next step, I am going to change the last checked feed because I want to see if it still works. That's not good. It stopped. What happened? When this happens, it usually means that somewhere else not. Plus the other two videos. Yep. It failed. This is the error we're getting. Table query generic type must provide it. I missed that. Where did I miss that? Where did I? Was working and I didn't change really. Oh, what did you do, Joe? What did you do? This failed at line here. This get query, which returns duration repository. Go take a look at the method. See what I did. Do return table get a link. Should be fine. Didn't change anything there. See if this is where we're getting the error from. Still watching, chat? Curious if you run into things like this when you do the stream. I always feel like I'm failing when I get these weird errors that I don't know when it's happening. But I see lots of others have it, so I'm bad when it happens. Edition key is being passed in correctly. YouTube load videos. I think it's breaking inside of the third-party library. That one of the libraries I wrote underscore table is from my JosephGuadagno.Azure helper store library. But it should be breaking. Not throwing this error. Problem is, it took me more than 2 minutes, so I'm jumping over myself with a lot of these. Wait for the next failure. Action while I feed. Table query must. I'm gonna look this one up because this one baffled me today. Because everything I have is there, unless I'm missing something. As the error states, you need to confirm as constructor to your. But I had that. Table repository. Oh, this doesn't have one. I don't think I need one for repository unless I need one for table entry. Let's see. It wants a empty for here. An empty for configuration. I think it wants an empty for. Let's see. New public collector configuration. Ignore that one from writer/resharper. Ignore a lot of those build warnings. It's because I have done it framework 5 installed and Sharper doesn't totally, Writer doesn't support it yet. Ha! Worked right away. Guess I broke that when I did it. So which one are we in now? The YouTube videos. Huh. I'm going to actually change this to see if the get worked since that's all new. This is at the point where I was starting to play around with it. So let me change the configuration dot checked. Configuration dot last check feed new date time 2020, 09, 01. Date time right. Nope, didn't change. Why didn't you change? That should work. Configuration dot. First. This 2020-09-01. So this should get me, at least this count should be 1. So let's go and hit play and continue. No, point there. Change it before that. So let's hit play. This went out to YouTube, called the API, and came back with nothing. Oh no, it came back with nothing. Item count 0. Well, we can figure that part out. That was the point where I was at yesterday. Wait, am I? Oh, I'm at the feed video. The feed breakpoints are different now. Different project. Happens when I'm debugging 2 different things at once. Now we're in YouTube, and YouTube is 0. But did I change this one right way? I did change that one, but this didn't get any result. Okay. I'm just going to let all these run, and then I will stop them all. And they should all be all cut up. Now I'm going to go back here, and let's change this YouTube. Actually, I should probably see when the last time I posted one was. YouTube. Dangerous thing to pull up YouTube because you never know what's going to appear on the screen. Let's see, my videos. Last one was 3 days ago, which was 9/19. Okay. 3 days ago was 9/16. Okay, so let's go change that. This minus 3 days is, let's just 15. Update condition satisfied. It's probably because it was cached out. Change it. 9/15. Date. Post. Now if I run this, I'm going to take off the other breakpoints for the blog post. And we can go figure out what's wrong with you. Feed. Actually, for this, set this to not startup. That working. Set this to 60 minutes. Put a reminder for myself to change that. We're back to 2 minutes. Now let's figure out why YouTube is not working. I want to go to the YouTube reader and breakpoint here. Just as it says, give me all the searches for this particular channel ID that's been published after this date that are type video. I'm going to breakpoint here and see where everything was. This was working, but I did add this to it, so I wonder if I broke it there. Go. You're actively watching. Can you let me know how the color of my face looks? I have it on 2 different monitors, so color is not coordinated. One monitor makes me super red. The other one looks like it's normal. Nice to know if I finally got the light right. Okay. My last check time. 9:15, which is good. Continue here. We should hit the breakpoint inside the you get. Which we do. We should have results. See what the items are. There's a count of 1. Right. Oh, stupid kind. So depending on what I did not like, depending on what you query or how you query it, the data that comes back changes. So there is this search parameter kind, and based on the samples, you should use video to get a list of videos. But I guess because I chose type equals video, it changed it from video to search results. So I'm going to go and double check that again. Make sure this is the right time still. Ported it. Now, ideally, I would want these as probably separate class libraries that I can test with unit tests, but I started building it from scratch and followed some bad practices, which is why I plan on getting it back together. Should still have one search item. Let me toggle through this. Search kind equals search result. And good, we're here. Put a break there and see what it looks like. See if our video item is populated with the source data, which is good, has the edit on. It's the author, which is myself. The ID of it, that's YouTube video. Partition key is YouTube, which is good. Row key, it's fine. Shorten URL, I didn't shorten the URL. Source system is YouTube. Title, the name of it, cool. So it looks like it is working. Now let's see what's going to get in here. What's in the breakpoint? Oh, here, so. Yes, now it has one new item. And I should be able to hit play. Gonna go and save. So this is where it publishes the event locally, this is going to say, hey, who's ever watching, there's a new topic done. So I am going to skip over that because I don't want this to actually go out. Because I don't want to repost that video to social media. And I can hit play now. This has come back now because we hit the 15 minutes. So go and check, see if this ran again. It should find 0 because since when should have been right around now. Perfect. So now it's working the way it's supposed to work. Now we're good. It's going to empty out. Now if I look at the console, I have these debug. So let's hit stop. Should notice 2 things now. This should have last updated time, which was right around now, which is great. But now I should have a source data, which has a partition key of YouTube in it and a row key with that ID. Probably have to go to the end. Yes, because we notice it's at 157 now versus 156. Now we have our YouTube video in there with the full name of it and the URL for it. I have to shorten that URL. Oh, there is the publication date. Cool. That's what we're going to use later on when we schedule it. So the YouTube piece is working, feed's working, the configuration is right now. So in all honesty, I can actually publish this now and then work on additional features. I think I will do just that, publish it. So before I publish it, I need to do 2 things. I need to delete the existing configure. Where are you? Storage accounts. Net. Tables. Configuration. Delete those. Schedule tweets is something I'm working on. Source data. Oh, there's nothing in source data yet. Oh, because this hasn't been working yet, and I haven't done the everything post, which is something I could do. Okay, so let's go and publish. Got all the configuration items right. Let's make sure you're stopped. Right click. Publish. Actually, I don't even have to right click. Just publish. Should have a publish. Which I do. Play. Should publish it. Remember, friends don't let friends. Right click and publish. Okay, hit play and publish. I'm going to eventually get to adding that. But I've been destroying and adding and destroying and adding this, so I don't want to have to recreate the deployment pipeline time. Should take a couple of minutes and it's loading. I guess like portal up. Oh, it's creating a zip right now. Stopping the function, which is good. Taking a while to stop the function. I think I actually already had it stopped. And now it's publishing the zip file. So this takes the zip, which is executables, sends them off using the Azure Resource Manager. Once it is accepted, timeout almost always happens on the first attempt. Don't know if it's just busy or what have you, but it does it a lot. Usually it will work on the second attempt, and any current attempts in the session will work. Deployment successful. Now it's starting the function. Now we can go back and should be able to see the function running. My session's timed out. Start it. Ooh. This is the app insights for it. This should show some usage now that hopefully it's compiling and working. See it drop. That's when it stopped it. It started up again. Let's check the app insights to see if there's log messages fired. Failed request, which is a good thing. Next thing is to improve the logging, see what's happening, instead of just going with this. I wanted live metrics. That'll give me the countdown. Just what I want to focus on. Nothing terrible yet. Search. You're here to see live. It's 20. It's 30 minutes. Job post stopped at 3:20, which was 4 minutes ago. Stop. Nothing since it stopped. This is a good thing. Let's go and check what this has. This should be updated values. They ran the load YouTube. The other one didn't run yet, but check that 18. So let's drop this to 15. See if it ultimately runs. Should have source data in here at some point. Don't know why the other one hasn't. Why did the other one? Oh, the other one I set for 60 minutes, didn't I? I forgot to use my to-do. This has got to go. Where are you? Functions, collectors, feed, load all posts. No, not load new post. This one I got to change back to 2 minutes. So in about 15 minutes or so, which I'm guessing it is about 5 minutes, I should have this running. Don't want this to run at startup. So what I'm actually going to do is push a new version with the right times. So let's go and redeploy. Hopefully it'll be functioning as normal. That's loading. I'm going to go take a look at Twitter. Or my phone go off a couple times. Oh, nothing. Weird thing that Twitter does. It doesn't kind of refresh until you come back to it. Sweet. Okay, let's see. Are you done publishing? Almost done publishing. Come on, you got to finish in less than 4 minutes. I want YouTube to go and see if I get that new post. Can't time that again. If my ISP is having troubles today, normally doesn't do 2 times in a row where it fails the upload. Just noticed there's that clock is. Oh, it deployed, so it should be restarting now. Let's go back to the portal. If I refresh this, we should see stopped at 320 something. Potentially. Oh. A lot of this stuff ran. One of the downsides of App Insights is it's not real time, so I can't really keep looking at it. Things get queued off to it. Let's go and check this. Make sure there's no source data. Make sure the configuration is still accurate. $15 should be able to check this, see when it runs. Come on. Function execution. So it did execute something. What did it execute already? It's 323. That was the one. So essentially, you want to see a bump here in about a minute. I'm going to see how I can get this memory down by it's using. Essentially, both of the tasks should kick off. This should say 3 in this time. Let's go back and refresh this to see if I The job stopped at 3:26, and it's 3:30 my time now. Choo. Check you, see if you ran yet. Page. Hear it already. Let's refresh you. Both of them ran at least once, so that means I should have source data here with at least one YouTube item in it. One YouTube item. Sweet. Now let's see if that actually went tweet, which it should have. Should have went out a tweet and a Facebook status update. These are super quick, so I doubt we'll see anything. Not showing anything. Yep, no messages, no that. So you can check Twitter and see if I sent out anything on my behalf. My name. There it is. New blog post coding with that. So the tweet just went out, and if I click this link, that should be the YouTube video. Sorry, I gotta change the name of it, but yep, there's a YouTube video with it. Tweet. So it worked. Hate that. No one goes to it, but yes, we're able to do that. Oh, that means it went to Facebook too. So let me check Facebook here. There's a new post I wrote today about priorities. It's the 1-year anniversary of me having almost a heart attack a year ago today. So going through that, if post works successfully, it should be here. Yep, this was the item. So sweet, it worked. I'm just going to delete this. Now I have to figure out how to change it from saying new post to new video, because I believe that content is hard coded. That's all I have for today. I don't think I want to bother figuring out the rest. But that's cool. If you have any questions or any thoughts, feel free to reach out. It was a pleasure. Have a great day.